That was a fucking fox. Just jumped right out of the forest. Just looked at me and bounced back. Right over there. These are the beginnings of Cantharellus cibarius. I have no idea how I spotted these. They're hidden behind a big-ass rock, and just look at their size. Absolutely adorable. I didn't know these actually grew in the wild here. Learn something new every day, I suppose. This is what crippling depression looks like. Right, I keep seeing these everywhere, so I might as well talk about them. These are a variant of the common fly agaric called Amanita muscaria var formosa. In all the ways that matter, they are the same as regular Amanita muscaria. You know, these bad boys. Just like their more famous siblings, these are also more psychedelic than properly toxic, although a lethal dose is possible. My point is, as far as toxic amanitas go, these are pretty far down on the list. The only real macroscopic difference is the coloration of the cap. Amanita muscaria generally have uniform red caps, and the formosas have yellow or orange caps that darken towards the center. Aside from that, they have the same taxonomical features as most members of the Amanita genus, which I'll just go over real quick. Starting at the bottom, there's the bulbous cup that everything seems to grow out of, called the vulva, because of course that's what it's called. Moving up the stipe, which is the mycological term for the stem or stalk, there's that skirt around the stipe, called the annulus. This one's a bit rough, but you can clearly see the remnants of such a skirt. The last major feature I'll mention for now is the gills themselves. As it is an amanita, it has pristine white gills. The gills are free, which means they do not touch the stipe. The most recognizable feature is probably the white spots on the cap, but they can be washed off by the rain, so they're not always present. They're merely remnants of its universal veil, and not really attached to the skin as such. Here's a younger specimen. You can see how the universal veil has started breaking apart to form those characteristic spots. I don't know what the fuck this is supposed to be, but one misstep, and your dentist can retire. Boletus edulis, or penny bun, or some shit like that. I'm not up to date on the common vernacular. But these are edible. They're supposed to be some of the best edible fungi, if you can find one that isn't rotten. This is the first one I've found that wasn't rotten, and it's already dead. It's quite sad, really. Cortinarius Dragonis. Sounds like the name of a Roman military unit. Not a whole lot to go over with these. They're not edible, but they're not considered toxic. It's more of a why would you type of deal. They're pretty uninteresting aside from the light lilac shade of the caps and stipes, which make them a nice woodland ornament in the late summer and early autumn. What's that? Another penny bun? No. This is the orange birch bolete, Leccinum versipelle. They're not as sought after as other fungi, but they are edible. When cooked, they do contain some mildly toxic volatile compounds that are easily dealt with by boiling or frying it for 15 to 20 minutes. To the untrained eye, they look very similar to other boletes. Its main identifying feature is the stipe, which is riddled with these unmistakable black specks. It also doesn't bruise when damaged. It's usually best to just stay away whenever a bolete bruises. You're headed into dangerous territory at that point. This is a bolete, so more often than not it'll be rotten, like this one. Although, this one's not the worst I've seen. They're usually completely black on the inside. They look pretty nice though. Looks like bread. You know, just hanging out with even more formosas. baiting some explosive diarrhea by drinking out of a source that smelled like literal defecation before I filtered it. That's good times. Another Amanita that seems to be all over the fucking place, but this time it's an edible Amanita. Amanita excelsa. Some people consider them edible, but they're no one's favorite. It's more like a survival food you'd only eat if you had to, because at least it's not toxic. ID is not too difficult, as they look pretty much identical to Amanita muscaria, with the exception of the brownish-grey coloration of the cap. That said, however, it does have some toxic lookalikes, including Amanita pantherina and Amanita muscaria variegalis. That's reason enough to stay away, as this motherfucker is not worth the trouble. Mellea, of the genus Armillaria, commonly known as the honey fungus. It is part of a group of fungi famous for their bioluminescence, which means they will glow in the dark. Well, some of them will. In the case of Armillaria mellea, it is the mycelium that is bioluminescent, and not the fruiting bodies. Not as exciting, right? At least they make up for being shit by also being edible, although caution is advised, as some people can experience some gastrointestinal upsets as a result of consuming them. Some specimens can have a bitter flavor to them, so some parboiling is in order. That's a good idea anyway, as they are slightly toxic when raw. It's always so fucking cool when you come across a log that's just infested with these things. There are thousands of you, and that's cool and all. You're not really what I'm looking for. Fuck off.